I'm sorry for the last minute change in plans, but one of those things where the doctor can see me today or I can wait 2 months for my appointment. So it kind of messed up my afternoon. So I am doing my kimchi, my simple kimchi tutorial right now. And this way you guys can just kind of watch it when you guys are getting ready to make your kimchi. So basically I have already pre-chopped 2 heads of Napa cabbage and 1 bunch of scallions. I put about 3 tablespoons of salt, and I've let it wilt now for maybe a half an hour. The way to speed this process is to massage it like I'm doing right now. And that will help kind of quicken that process. You just kind of want it to get pretty melted down. You're going to get a lot of fluids out of the veggies, and you're going to definitely want to use that to help can or to help put into your fermentation jars so you can submerge it. So, a bit about lacto-fermentation, which is the method used to make kimchi. Basically, on all vegetables that we pull out of the garden, they have a coating of lactobacillus, which is a really good microbe. And that's what breaks down the carbohydrates and sugars and helps to create a ferment process. As far as your containers, you want to start clean. Now, there's clean and there's clean. Clean is, you could use bleach to sterilize everything. You just want to make sure that they're fully dry, because bleach, being a microbe murderer, will actually kill the lactobacillium, which is what we're trying to actually create. So I am actually using a Korean kimchi box, and then I'm also going to show you guys how to stuff the jars, because most of you will be working with jars, I'm assuming. So anyways, make sure that they're clean. Hot soapy water. You can add a drop of bleach. Just make sure you rinse it really well and let it dry, because what we really don't want to do is introduce bleach to our ferment, because that will negate everything. So anyways, so we are starting out here with, like I said, 2 heads of chopped Napa. I like big chunks of kimchi, so I cut mine into 2 to 3 inch pieces. Mostly these stemmy parts, which are my favorite, but you're also going to get like the wilty, the leaves as well. And they're all going to kind of get soft and shrink down anyways, but that's basically what we're starting with. I also, let me get a clean towel, am using, where did I put it? Gochujang Korean crushed red pepper. This is the good stuff, you guys. I'm going heavy. I'm going to use at least a half a cup because I like mine spicy. You can feel free to use less. I also am going with 6 cloves of garlic and a 2-inch slice of chopped up ginger. So mine is going to be more on the spicy, very pungent, flavorful side, because that's how I like my kimchi, but you guys can play with it. You can also add a little sugar if you want to offset some of that tang. I personally don't. I like it funky. And then what else? And fish sauce, yes. So if you want to make this vegan, you can use miso paste, which is actually kind of a fermented miso, which will get the ferment going well. Personally, I do like the fish sauce better. It doesn't taste fishy. This stuff is already fermented. Yeah, it's just basically fish guts fermented, but it does add a more traditional flavor. And when it comes to kimchi, it's really regional depending on what part of Korea you're in. So I'm going with something very, very basic, just to get you guys started, but you can play with it a ton. So, okay, so this is pretty much mashed down as I need it to be. And you guys can salt it and let it sit for 2 hours, or you can just use this massage process. Make sure you washed your hands very, very well. Get a brand new clean tea towel to use for wiping your hands and such. We don't want to introduce any of the bad bacteria. We just want the good stuff. So, if you have a home food processor, I would recommend that. I am just using my little tiny hand chopper because I find it to be pretty easy. And to my hand chopper, I'm adding all of my ginger and garlic along with my hot pepper. And And I'm going to add a splash of this just because I'm trying to make a paste. You can also add a little bit of water. You should use filtered water, no chlorine. I'm on a well, so my water comes directly from a big aquifer under my feet, so I don't have to worry about any added chemicals in mine. So a little water won't hurt. So once you get your ingredients in, we are going to want to make a slurry. So once we get this paste down, it's going to look like this, and it should smell pretty dang good. And this is going to go right on top of our semi-wilted Napa cabbage. You guys might, depending on what you're using, a blender or a food processor, just make sure you scrape it down. This is all the yummy goodness, so get as much out of that as you possibly can. Then we are going to use some fish sauce, and I think the recipe called for about 3 tablespoons. I'm gonna just eyeball it, but I put the recipe in the comments. So from here, we're just going to massage this paste into the kimchi mix. As you guys are in here, you're going to start feeling a lot of moisture. Even more moisture is going to be pulled out of these veggies after you put them into the containers. So the idea is we want to use what they call anaerobic fermentation. So anaerobic means free of oxygen. So this isn't going to really create a giant brine. You can add, like I said, some filtered water to get more fluid, but really naturally the water inside of the kimchi or inside of the Napa cabbage itself will start to get deeper as you go. So we will see. I might add a little bit of salty water to this, but that is about it. Your hands are going to be messy, but this is what you end up with. This is just your base for the kimchi. And since most of you are using jars, I'm going to start filling my jar. It doesn't need to be filled to the very, very top. You want to leave headspace so you can mash it down. They make these cool wooden kind of a spindle that you can use to mash with. I'm going to be using my hand and a bottle with a plastic wrap over it. I'll show you in a second, but I just think this will be easy to get it as packed as quickly as we can. So, anywho, well, I hope you guys are all doing well. My day has been turned on its head, which isn't unusual in my life, but we're gonna get her done. I got a lot on my to-do list today, causing me a little bit of stress, but I got a pretty good track record of getting it done. So I'm dropping some pieces here on the tabletop. My tabletop may or may not be totally sanitary, so I am not going to pick these pieces up to bottle. I'm just going to chuck these in the sink. My hands a quick rinse. So here we go with a bottle pretty much filled up, but we want to mash it down. And if you don't have one of those cool little spindle things, you can just find yourself a bottle. This is a white peach balsamic vinegar. I'm going to wrap it in some plastic, and then you can use that as a stomper. You're going to hear bubbles. What we're trying to do basically is get all of the vegetable matter down underneath the brine. And the brine, as I said before, will increase as it sits. So I'm going to fit a bit more in here. So this is the easy part. The hard part is the next few days waiting. Once we are at this point, our kimchi is about done as far as being ready to ferment. Now, as far as the fermentation process goes, you just want to put a lid on this and leave it on your countertop for, well, it depends, anywhere from 2 to 7 days, depending on how funky you want it. For me, I go a full 7 days. Right on the countertop. Ideally, you want the temperature to be between 64 and 74 degrees. So find a room in your house that pretty much stays stable at that temperature. And that's basically just the ideal temperature for lactobacillus to do its thing and create or ferment. And then once you kind of get it to the tang and flavor that you want, you just put the lid on and you can put it into the fridge. And some people say that that'll be good for up to 6 months. Other people say only a month. Going from my kimchi, 2 months, it never seems to last longer than 2 months because I eat it all. So that's kind of my take, is that I think you could probably get 6 months out of this in the refrigerator after you've fermented it and put it on the chill. But like I said, in my house, it doesn't last long. So for the next week, for me, shorter for you guys if you don't want it quite so tangy, I'm going to leave this on my counter. And I did tighten down the lid, but it's not super tight, just finger tight. And I'm gonna burp it every single day. If you get it too tight, well, that's like a bomb. You don't wanna do that. And you definitely wanna come and open it up every day. Make sure that, things are packed down underneath the liquid as much as possible. I'll come back later today and I'm going to have a lot more liquid than I have right now as the Napa cabbage kind of releases more of its fluids. But for right now, you can already see I've got a pretty good layer of moisture along the top. So again, we're looking for anaerobic fermentation, so that means we do want it fully submerged. So every couple of days you can pack it down further, but definitely burp your bottles. Go anywhere between 2 to 7 days and then put it in the fridge. And this stuff is delicious on rice or in soups or really, I don't know, just right out of the jar. So anyways, guys, it's a quick tutorial. It's easy. If there's questions, go ahead and message me. But that's it. Homemade kimchi. Super easy and really delicious. And this whole thing maybe costs about 50 cents or so, a little bit more. Napa cabbage is expensive up here because it's kind of one of those veggies that just doesn't grow low on trees in Utah. So anyways, y'all, happy eating. Hope you like your kimchi. Text me any questions and have a great day.